Mingfei is a broke, friendless loner whose only achievement in life is carrying randoms in Valorant until a mysterious player named Chen absolutely humiliates him in a 1v1. Turns out, she's a ranked dragon slayer from Castle College, a secret academy training warriors to fight mythical beasts. Moreover, the principal thinks this socially awkward orphan has the potential to be an S-rank legend. But before any of this, Mingfei is playing a game of Valorant with his friend, and after winning the match, his friend says goodbye and logs off. Mingfei suddenly feels a bit down when he sees that no one else is online. He opens the profile of a girl he has a crush on, and just then, he gets an invitation from a top-tier player named Chen. The invite is a challenge for a one-on-one duel. Mingfei doesn't even think twice and accepts it right away. As the duel starts, he's shocked by how skilled the player is. It's way tougher than he thought it would be. Because of how tough the match is, Mingfei puts all his effort into battling Chen. But in the middle of the duel, Chen sends him a message, predicting his next move in real time. Just as Mingfei tries to react, he loses the duel and his body freezes in shock, unable to believe what just happened. After that, Mingfei sits there feeling confused, trying to figure out who the player was and how they managed to beat him so quickly and easily. He opens their profile to find more information, but it's totally blank with no clues at all. Annoyed and frustrated, he logs off and decides to stop playing for now. But what he doesn't know is that the person who defeated him was actually a girl, and she's a ranked dragon slayer who goes to Castle College. Later, Chen drives around the city with a few of her friends from Castle College when they discover that the principal is interested in Mingfei. Apparently, he has the potential to become an S-rank student, but Chen doesn't understand why. She challenges him to a duel to figure out what all the fuss is about. However, Chen gets annoyed because Mingfei received a scholarship from the principal of Castle College, believing he doesn't belong there, especially after beating him in a 1v1 match. Norma greets Chen and begins asking questions about Mingfei's life, like what he likes to do and what his hobbies are. She finds out that Mingfei doesn't have any friends and is a total loner who just spends his time alone, usually playing by himself all day. On top of that, she learns that he was abandoned by his parents when he was little, and now he lives with his aunt, uncle, and his rude cousin, Mings, who bullies him a lot. Mingfei even gets back at Mings by pretending to be a girl online and dating him in a game just to mess with him. His aunt and uncle are always yelling at him to start making money soon, saying if he doesn't, no college will take him, and he'll end up as a failure in life. Curious about his future and what he wants to do, Chen asks where Mingfei sees himself later in life. But Norma answers for him, saying that Mingfei's only real dream is to work at a small newsstand, just making enough money to keep his games updated and stay online for as long as he wants. Chen is shocked when she hears this, and her friend almost swerves off the road, both of them totally confused about why the principal would even want someone like Mingfei at the college when he seems like such a nobody. Later on, Mingfei gets kicked out of the house and is told to go buy groceries and other stuff for the family. On his way out, Mingfei checks the mailbox and finds a letter addressed to him. When he opens it, he sees that it says he's going to be mentored by Professor Guderian, and the letter was sent just for him. Mingfei thinks it has to be a dream and even tries to wake himself up. But it turns out it's completely real. It's an actual letter, not something made up in his head. In his dream, a helicopter lands outside their apartment and a man steps out, none other than Ziheng. He invites Mingfei to join the academy and even bows before him, calling Ming his master, saying they've been waiting a long time to meet him. But Mingfei snaps out of the daydream and gets back to reality, starting to think maybe his family is right. Suddenly, the device from the letter starts ringing and informs him that the person on the line wants to interview Ming tomorrow about his acceptance into Castle College. Later, Mingfei chats with his best friend online, who is the only one excited about his upcoming interview. His friend offers some helpful advice on how to present himself during the interview, boosting Mingfei's confidence. The next day, Mingfei arrives at the building in the main city for the interview, and to his surprise, he sees some of his old classmates from his previous school. It turns out they also received the same letter and are attending the interview as well. The next day, the examiner begins asking Mingfei a bunch of questions that seem totally pointless. Mingfei looks confused, wondering what any of this has to do with the interview. One of the other interviewers, who's busy typing up all the answers, cuts in and tells him that no one cares about his personal life right now, they just want him to answer the questions like he's supposed to. The same interviewer also adds that, even if the questions seem dumb, they're actually really important. After that, Mingfei tells the interviewer that yes, he does believe in monsters. He explains that every night he looks up at the stars and talks to them, saying that the universe is way too big for Earth to be the only place with life. There has to be something else out there on other planets, somewhere far in the galaxy. After answering all those strange questions, Mingfei stands up and says sorry to the examiners. He tells them he probably signed up for the wrong college by mistake, and then walks out of the building. As he's walking away outside, a man suddenly storms into the room and asks the examiners how the interview went. It turns out the man is Professor Guderian. The interviewers tell him that Mingfei left right after the first question and gave up on the whole thing. While walking home, Mingfei runs into Wenwen, who asks him if he wants to go to the graduation party with her, and Mingfei quickly says yes. As they walk together, Mingfei starts dreaming about the future. He hopes that someday he can marry Wenwen, live with her in the city, settle down and spend the rest of his life happily by her side. But deep inside, he's feeling down because he thinks he just ruined his only shot at getting into Castle College. However, when he gets home, his aunt surprises him by saying that a man named Guderian called the house earlier. She then tells Mingfei that he actually passed the interview and has been accepted into Castle College after all. The next day, Mingfei, along with his aunt, uncle, and cousin, heads back to the building to speak with Professor Guderian about his study. As soon as they arrive, his aunt starts asking about the financials and where Mingfei will be staying. The professor explains that Mingfei's scholarship will provide him with $36,000 each year, which will be deposited directly into his bank account. He also mentions that Mingfei will be staying at the academy. When his aunt hears about the amount of money, she immediately starts pleading with Mingfei to join them and tells the professor that Mingfei will attend the school right away. However, the professor then reveals that the reason they want Mingfei is because he is believed to possess a rare talent, a 100-year-old talent stored within his soul. This information leaves Mingfei's aunt and uncle completely confused. Professor Guderian then pulls out a letter that was written by Mingfei's parents. He hands it to Mingfei, and as he reads it, he learns that his mother and father were both honorary students of Castle Academy. In the letter, his mother explains everything, why she had to leave him that night. She tells him that, although she had to part from him, but she has always loved him deeply and that he is the one thing she truly cares about. She also reveals that because of her bloodline, she had to attend Castle College, which was the reason for her absence. In the letter, she asks the professor to speak with the principal, requesting that Mingfei be granted a scholarship when he is of age. As Mingfei stands there crying, Chen approaches him and tells him that if he's going to cry like that, he should probably leave the building. She gently escorts him back to the meeting room. Once they're back, the professor asks Mingfei what he thinks about enrolling in the school, but Mingfei hesitates and says that he needs more time to think it over. However, upon hearing this, Dono speaks up and reveals that Mingfei's hesitation is actually because of a girl he has a crush on and doesn't want to leave her behind. This surprises Mingfei, leaving him shocked as he wonders if Dono somehow knows about Chen Wenwen. But then Dono clarifies, saying she just guessed it randomly. The next day, Mingfei meets up with Wenwen to prepare for the graduation party tomorrow, buying supplies for the event. While they're out, Chen approaches Mingfei again, urging him to leave Wenwen immediately. She warns him that the professor is leaving tonight, so he must make his decision before then. However, Mingfei has already made up his mind. He plans to confess his feelings to Wenwen at the graduation party. He refuses Chen's offer once more, determined to follow through with his plan. After that, Mingfei is shown standing in front of the mirror, practicing his confession over and over so he'll be ready for tomorrow. Since he doesn't have a single penny to his name, he picks flowers from the ground to give to Wenwen as a gift. As the graduation party is about to begin, Mingfei heads toward the main stage and greets two other students who are also dressed in suits, since they've been hired by Zhao to help out. After a quick chat, Mingfei focuses back on his plan and takes a deep breath, holding the flowers tightly. He makes up his mind to head up on stage and confess his love to Wenwen. However, just as he is about to say his speech, Zhao Mingfei walks out with some flowers in hand and makes his confession to Wenwen. All this time, Zhao was playing a prank on him, and what's even worse is that Chen Wenwen was in it, and she too expresses her feelings towards Zhao in front of Mingfei. While Mingfei feels really sad and left out, something surprising happens. Chen shows up wearing the most beautiful outfit, and all the students around gasp as she walks down the steps at the graduation ceremony. Chen walks over to Mingfei with her group of friends and claps her hands, telling the girls it's time to change Ming's clothes. After they finish, the amazing Chen links her arm with Ming's and tells Wenwen and Zhao that Mingfei has more important things to do than staying here. However, this annoys Zhao, so Chen tells them both that this is the last time they will ever see this version of Mingfei and walks out of the building. Chen tells him it's okay to look back at her one last time, but Mingfei refuses and doesn't turn around like Andrew Tate. After they leave, they drive for a long time until their car runs out of gas. They stop at a quiet place to wait while the tank gets refueled. While they wait, Chen finally tells Ming that she can't let the principal or professor down by failing to get him to join Castle Academy. Ming listens, and then thanks Chen for not giving up on him, even when he didn't seem interested. He thinks it over again and decides that he actually does want to join the Castle College. Right away, Chen contacts Norma to share Ming's decision. Soon after, Norma talks to Ming for the first time and gives him all his current stats, calling him an S-rank student. Norma also shares his student ID code and all the important information about the college. Just then, Chen places a crown on Ming's head, calling him a king of the college, even though he hasn't done anything to earn it yet. Ming feels overwhelmed by the sudden news and doesn't know how to react. Chen sees this and explains that others have been crowned before him too, including his own parents, so it's not something completely new. Mingfei is at the airport and he walks up to a security officer. But without even listening to him, he calls him a bagger. But Mingfei says that he is not a bagger and asks about the CC train line he's supposed to take to get to his college. The officer looks at him and says there's no such line and he can contact the embassy of his country. Mingfei decides to eat some burger because he is hungry, but the workers straight up says that beggars are not allowed. However, Mingfei looks down at himself, then at the $20 in his pocket and says he's not a beggar. But when he looks around, he sees a bunch of other people who look just like him, tired, messy, and carrying all their stuff in old backpacks. The officer tells him to go to the Chinese embassy to ask for food and a place to stay. Just then, a silver-haired boy named Finger shows up and Mingfei gets mad at him right away, calling him poor. However, it turns out that Finger is also broke as he asks Mingfei if he can lend him some money to buy a soda. Finger looks at Mingfei's hand and sees a Castle College card, so he asks if Mingfei is a student there. Then he pulls out the same kind of card from his own pocket and says that he's Mingfei's senior. After that, he takes Mingfei's money just because he feels like it. Later that night, they sit together and Finger tells Mingfei that he's in his 9th year at school. Usually, students graduate in 4 or 5 years, but Finger had to repeat a grade 4 times in a row. The two of them wait at the metro station, sitting side by side, as they look out for the CC line train that they're supposed to take to get to the college. Finger explains that the college is hidden deep inside a valley and the easiest way to reach it is by taking the CC line, unless they pick someone themselves or have a personal pickup for them. But if someone's rank is low, they wait for the train as compared to someone with high rank. Mingfei wonders if Finger's rank must be low, but he tells Mingfei to respect people with low rank. They wait at the station until midnight, but nothing arrives, and eventually, both of them fall asleep. During his sleep, Mingfei gets a strange dream where he's caught in the middle of a war, with people in nun-like robes rushing past him in every direction. Suddenly, he wakes up and sees a giant moon shining through the window of the station. As he looks around, he notices a young boy sitting on the ground beside him, someone he doesn't recognize. The boy looks at Mingfei and speaks to him, saying the bells are ringing to take a look at the past and the earth will eat itself. However, Mingfei thinks he might be a bagger as well and gives him money to buy some food. He calls him brother as if he already knows him, but just as Mingfei starts to respond, he wakes up again and realizes it was all just part of his dream. At that moment, Finger stirs and wakes up too, announcing that the CC line has arrived. They both hear a man approaching, holding a bell in his hands, so Mingfei wonders if he is a man or a ghost. The man announces that the CC 1000 express train is here and all students should board with their luggage and ticket. Finger walks up to him and the man looks at him with surprise, saying he didn't expect to see him. Finger responds, saying he's been demoted again and has set a new record for consecutive demotions, dropping from grade G all the way to F. After that, Mingfei walks up to the conductor and introduces himself as a new student named Mingfei. As soon as the conductor hears his name, he starts panicking and asks if Mingfei is really the new S-grade student. He wonders aloud why the professor hasn't arrived in his plane to pick him up. When Finger hears this, he freaks out too, asking if it's true. Mingfei, now feeling left out, starts to panic as well, and they all starts acting like bunch of used Annabelle dolls. Not wanting to be ignored, he checks in and suddenly, the entire airport lights up. The underground passageway opens just for him and the CC 1000 express train arrives. Afterward, the professor, who looks like Happy Bird, jumps off the train and welcomes Mingfei. He hugs her as if he found his long-lost wife. Everyone boards the train, and the students begin changing into their uniforms. The professor then asks Mingfei to sign a non-disclosure agreement, explaining that it's a requirement for all students at the college. He adds that the school teaches special subjects that aren't available anywhere else in the world. Afterward, the professor tells the students that they study dragons at the college and asks Mingfei what he thinks about them. The professor listens to Mingfei's response, explaining that dragons are not just mythical creatures from stories, but real beings. He says that humans and dragons have been at war for a very long time, though most people don't know it. Moreover, Castle College is still carrying on their legacy and focus on studying how to kill dragons and train heroes who can fight to protect mankind. After hearing all this, Mingfei thinks that the professor is a lunatic and needs to go to a mental hospital. Just then, he has a dream about the same young boy from before. The boy tells him that if he was a ghost, that everything he just heard would be a ghost story. He then tells Mingfei to look outside the window, saying he is the Dragon Kingdom. The boy explains that long ago, a human killed the Dragon King while it sat on its throne, and that human became the first emperor of mankind. As the boy continues, he explains that when the dragon died, everyone celebrated, and if it was not for that day, today's world would be very different. After finishing his explanation, the boy vanishes and Mingfei snaps back to reality. He wakes up and asks the professor where they are, but the professor tells him that he fell unconscious during the admission counseling. The professor brings his fellow, Toyama, who carries 2 boxes with him. The man looks at Mingfei and says that in his 40 years of work, Mingfei is only the second S grader he's ever seen. However, he adds with a sigh that the first S grader he encountered sadly met his end by ice skating into a truck. After that, they open the first box and show Mingfei what looks like a dragon scale. They hand him a gun and ask him to try shooting at it. Mingfei says he has some experience with guns because of his military training, so he takes aim and fires. The bullet hits the scale but bounces right off, showing just how tough it is. Mingfei, still unsure, says it might just be some kind of advanced technology. Then he turns to the second box, and when it's opened, he sees a baby dragon inside a capsule, fast asleep and floating gently in a resting state. The professor starts telling Mingfei the story behind the baby dragon. But Mingfei just laughs and says it looks like an action figure, telling them to grow up and stop messing around. He leans in to look more closely at the dragon, and all of a sudden, it opens its eyes and starts thrashing inside the capsule, trying to break free. But before it can do anything, Chen activates the high-tech case and forces it back to sleep. The professor watches all of this and says the dragon probably reacted to Mingfei's strong genetics. Then he adds, with a proud smile, that Mingfei's ancestor, Andrew Tate, must be very happy right now. Afterwards, they all arrive at the college and Mingfei walks in alongside the professor. As they make their way through the building, Mingfei looks around and asks the professor why he hasn't seen any other students around. The professor starts thinking about it too, looking a bit confused. But before they can say more, loud air sirens suddenly go off, echoing through the halls. The professor's face changes, and he quickly grabs Mingfei, saying things are about to get wild. He pulls him behind a pillar to take cover. Right then, a bunch of young people wearing red and black suits come rushing out from all directions, filling the area. The 2 groups start firing at each other, and in seconds, the whole college turns into a full-on war zone. The professor tries to stay out of it, but he ends up getting hit and falls to the ground early in the fight. The crazy battle keeps going until only 2 girls and the leaders from each side are left standing. Then the leaders step out into the open and face off against each other. One is Caesar, the leader of the student union, and the other is Zhang, the president of the Lionheart Society. The 2 begin fighting like main characters from a wild action anime, moving so fast and powerfully that Mingfei feels like a background extra just standing there. While Caesar and Zhang get busy trying to destroy each other, the 2 girls from both sides end up facing each other too, right in front of Mingfei. He's stuck in the middle as the red team's girl steps forward, revealing herself to be Chen. She raises her gun, tells Mingfei to duck, and fires a shot at the girl behind him. But before her bullet hits, she gets shot first. Shen goes down, and it looks like the black team has taken the win. But then, something strange happens. Mingfei suddenly gives control of his body to the young boy who's been showing up in his dreams. It's like he enters Ultra Instinct mode, moving like a pro without even thinking. With crazy speed and skill, he manages to take down the girl from the black team and even knocks out both of the leaders, like a total boss. After that, Mingfei stumbles back to the pillar and sits down, slowly regaining control over his body, breathing hard. Right then, a huge team of nurses and medics rushes in from all directions and starts treating the people who got knocked out during the fight. Alongside them, a bald man wearing a black suit walks into the scene, looking super annoyed. He complains loudly about how much money the students just wasted with all this chaos. At that moment, the professor wakes up too, rubbing his head and explaining the situation. He says the bullets they were using were actually filled with anesthetic paint, which marks and knocks people out but doesn't really hurt them. He adds that today was a free day at the college, and the students just decided to play an expensive game of paintball to see which side was better. After that, while still talking, the professor accidentally presses the bullet again, and it explodes right on his chest, knocking him out cold. He falls back asleep instantly, just like before. The bald guy, who's been standing there the whole time looking super stressed, is introduced as Professor Man. He's the one in charge of all the money and keeping the rules in order at the college. He's clearly had enough of the chaos, so he takes out his phone and calls the principal to complain about how the students have totally wrecked the campus again. But the principal doesn't really seem to care much. He says it's the students' right to go all out on free day, and the school will take care of all the damage. Even though fixing everything is going to cost more than $200,000, he says it's totally worth it. He even sounds kind of jealous, saying he wishes he could have joined the fun this year, and he promises that he'll make sure to take part next time. The students start cheering loudly after hearing what the principal says. Right before the call ends, the principal asks if Mingfei is there and tells him not to forget to come to his class. Then he says goodbye, and everyone feels even more excited and happy than before. After the call ends, Professor Man tells him to head straight to his dorm unless he wants to get himself killed, because he can clearly see all the other students staring at him with jealous, angry eyes like they're ready to jump him. Later, Mingfei finally gets to his dorm, and it's a big room made for 2 people. His roommate turns out to be Finger Senpai, which surprises him a little. Finger Senpai is friendly and offers to take him out and show him around the school since it's his first day there. He walks him around to different buildings on campus and explains that no one is allowed to use spirit language inside the school. That's because Professor Man's dad lives in the watchtower and uses his powers to create a barrier that covers the whole campus. He then brings him to the only classroom where people are actually allowed to use spirit language, since it's used for teaching and practice. While they're there, he explains that spirit language is a special kind of power that comes from mixing dragon language with dragon blood. Basically, you need to have a mage's blood and know the right magical chants, or it won't work. If you don't have both, you'll be called a muggle and joked about like you belong in the Harry Potter NPC world, with no powers at all. While they're walking through the building, they see a bunch of students practicing their spirit language. One of the students suddenly loses control of his water spirit, and it starts going wild, but luckily another student steps in and freezes it just in time, stopping it from hurting anyone. Meanwhile, up in the sky on an airship, the principal is having a drink with his friend Manson. He asks Manson what the students were like back during the time of the last Dragon King. He says that this time, instead of building an army of soldiers, he wants to raise true geniuses, people smart and strong enough to lead the world into a new age where humans can live in peace without having to worry about dragons. To make that happen, he says he's even willing to personally train Mingfei himself. After that, he asks him about a secret mission that they are going to start, and their airship continues moving forward towards their destination. Back at college, Mingfei stares at the big statue of the World Tree, asking Finger what this is. He explains that the Black Emperor Dragon was defeated here, so the collage made this as a symbol. Just then, the professor comes to pick Mingfei up and he takes him for his 3E exam. They all go to his room and Mingfei asks his professor what he means by 3E test. So he explains that this is a test to formulate his skill. The professor further says that before the official exam, he wants to test something and shows him a music box that has the Black Dragon Emperor's recording in it. He explains that all the people with dragon bloodline are from his subjects, and when he used to let out this roar, all the dragons under him would bow down and kneel in the direction of his throne. It is also the first step towards learning spirit language, and it makes humans with dragon bloodline hallucinate. He plays the recording and asks Ming if he saw anything, and Mingfei says that he only felt sleepy and nothing in particular. Hearing this, the professor starts wondering how this could be given his grade S bloodline, and then runs out towards the library in a panic and calls Professor Man there as well. Afterward, Finger asks him if he is unhappy, but Mingfei says that it feels like this whole journey was a dream. He then says that if he fails this exam, they will wash his head with soup and send him home. Meanwhile, at the student council meeting, Cesar says that only cowards refuse to admit their failures. Just then, his side chick receives a text and informs him that a very rare thing happened to their S-rank freshman, as he didn't resonate to the Imperium Yanling. In the library, the professor reads the old records and deduces that Mingfei could be someone at the Emperor's level and could be someone with the White Dragon's bloodline. The bald professor says that if Mingfei is the first descendant that they find, he should be a subject of research. However, the professor replies that none of them are humans either, as he wants to protect Mingfei as he is a good person. The professor also doesn't want Mingfei to become a research specimen. The next day, Mingfei runs toward the exam hall in a panic because he's late, and it's the day all the new students have to take their 3E exam. But instead of stressing out, Mingfei just ends up cheating his way through it by using the answers he got from Finger Senpai. Finger knows that this year's test is the exact same as the one he took back when he was at Mingfei's level, so he helps out by finding all the correct answers for him. Thanks to that, Mingfei is able to finish the whole test super easily. But instead of leaving or relaxing, he just keeps staring at Zero like a total weirdo, acting super distracted and strange. Mingfei ends up sleeping after the exam, and he also has a dream about the young kid, who introduces himself as his brother Ming, and they both sit together watching the sky. Ming exposes his freaky actions from before, making him feel uncomfortable. Ming shows Mingfei his vision, explaining that anyone who goes through one will end up seeing the things hidden deep inside their heart. He then blames Mingfei for being the reason why he feels so sad all the time. Right after that, Ming suddenly starts crying, and in the middle of it all, he throws Mingfei off the tower. But then, the two of them end up sitting together in the cold, saying nothing. Later on, Mingfei wakes up from his sleep and sees Chen standing there, looking at him with an evil expression. Back at the dorm, Finger congratulates him on entering college, but Mingfei feels weird. Finger asks him if he chose alchemic mechanical design by Professor Mance, but Mingfei turns out that he took that class. Finger then informs him that he has been on a mission lately. he found traces of dragon underwater. Meanwhile, Aki and Sheng are deep underwater, looking for something important. While they're searching, they suddenly get caught up in the moment and start making out because they can't control their feelings anymore. After that, Sheng uses his snake powers and sends out a bunch of snakes to search for metal about 40 meters below them. Just as the snakes begin to move, a huge earthquake hits the area, shaking everything around them. The ground starts trembling hard, and it feels like the whole place might collapse. The professor, realizing how dangerous it's getting, tries to bring them back to the ship right away. Later that night, Ming hears a strange bell ringing and ends up having another dream about Ming's. In the dream, the boy tells him that the bell is the bell of death, which means someone is about to die and that Ming might be in danger soon. But he also says it could be a chance to gain something. Ming then asks him to choose a perk. Ming thinks about the time Chen found him on the rooftop and decides what he wants. He says he wants the power to always have his map open, so he can see the location and layout of everything around the world. Ming grants it using a spell, and Mingfei wakes up for real with Finger calling out to him, saying the emergency alarm has gone off. They all rush out and notice that all the Ag grade and above students are to gather in the meeting hall, where the professors tell them that during a mission they found the palace of the Bronze Dragon King, and 2 of their board members are stuck down there. The palace is continuously changing and making it hard for them to escape. They show them some pictures of dragon writing that they found in the palace and tell them to try and decode it in hopes of it showing a way out of there. There are only 20 minutes left, and they are seeking help from all over the world. With that, all the students start taking shots at the code. Meanwhile, Mingfei looks around, feeling out of place and somewhat clueless, as everyone else seems to be giving their best effort. It's his first day in this new world, and he doesn't know much about what's going on. As he watches one of the new students, who's clearly doing her best, he begins to feel even worse about himself. Her determination only makes him question his own abilities and leaves him feeling even more inadequate in comparison. Just then, Mingfei gets a burst of motivation and remembers the open map he has, realizing it might be the key to finding a way out of the palace. Determined, he uses the map to locate the exit and submits the information. With that, they're able to send the details to the people in the palace, helping them find a way out and escape. Mingfei feels a sense of accomplishment, knowing that his actions have made a difference. Aki somehow manages to get Sheng to a safe spot and quickly asks him if he's okay. Sheng, still catching his breath, yells at the professor and tells him about the key they found. When the professor hears that, he suddenly shouts back, saying the key can read the map. One of the women then places the key on top of the map and the key starts moving its finger to point something out. But right after that, they realize there's a serious problem. They don't have enough oxygen left to make it back to the shore. Seeing how bad the situation is getting, the professor quickly tells everyone to launch the lifeboats before it's too late. They give it their all to make it to the surface and deliver the vase that they retrieve from the palace, but on their way, they are attacked by one of the Dragon King's retainers, a sea dragon. And it ends up killing both of them, but not before they manage to deliver the vase to the higher-ups in the airship. The sea dragon starts chasing after them to get the vase back, but Mance fights back with full force to avenge his dead partners. It becomes a long chase, where the sea dragon keeps attacking them despite being attacked by powerful weapons. Mance starts to wonder if the dragon is just trying to scare them off or if it's really planning to eat them alive, but either way, he can tell the dragon is super smart. It doesn't feel like a wild beast, it feels like it knows exactly what it's doing. A worker nearby quickly tells the secretary that the dragon is heading straight toward them and the signal from the bomb is getting weaker. But then, the worker says something that shocks everyone. He thinks the dragon might have swallowed the bomb. As soon as Mance hears that, he yells out telling them to detonate it right away. But then it reappears to kill Mance's secretary as well. In his anger, Mance grabs his machine gun and starts firing back at the beast, but it doesn't do anything. The bullets are useless. At the same time, the airship starts losing power and it feels like everything is falling apart. It really looks like this might be the end for all of them. But then, Mance spots something in the distance, the dam. He quickly gets an idea and shouts for the crew to steer the ship straight toward it. His plan is to lead the sea dragon right into the dam and crush it between the giant dam gates, hoping it'll be enough to finally stop the monster. Their plan ends up as a success, but not before the dragon manages to shoot one of its teeth through Mance's stomach. Later on, the principal announces that their mission was a success and they managed to get their hands on important dragon writing and artifacts, thanks to Mingfei and the other students' help. On their way out of the hall, Zhang thanks Mingfei for his contribution and invites him to join the Lion Art Society as his successor. But Mingfei refuses, saying he can't possibly take such a position. After that, the bell at the college rings. Ziheng says that whenever someone passes away, this bell rings as indicating the death of some of their members. Back on the airship, the principal steps outside and walks over to stand next to Mance. Mance, still catching his breath, says that he deserves to feel proud for taking down such a powerful dragon, the same one that Aki and Sheng had brought back. He then gives the principal a full report about how the mission went. After that, he asks him not to tell the students about the losses they faced during the battle. Instead, he says it's better to just tell them to stay positive and look forward to their next mission. Besides that, he tells the principal not to share the full news with the students, saying they shouldn't be made to grieve for him. He doesn't want them to carry that sadness. Then, before turning away, he asks the principal to check on his daughter, Chen, and make sure she stays safe no matter what happens. A few days later, Mingfei gets an online invitation to a ball dance event at the Amber Pavilion the next night. It's sent on behalf of the student union, and he has no clue because they'd invite him. When he shows it to Finger explains that it's actually Caesar who wants to invite him, probably to ask him to join the student union. But Mingfei is still confused. He doesn't even know who Caesar is. So Finger tells him that Caesar is from a really well-known hybrid family and that he's supposed to be the future heir of the famous Western Gattuso family. Caesar comes off as pretty arrogant in the way he speaks, and this whole fancy invitation seems like his own way of trying to bring Mingfei into the student union, kind of like how Zhang tried to invite him before. But Mingfei says right away that he's not interested and has no plans to join. Still, Finger tells him he should go anyway, not for the invitation, but because there's going to be expensive food and drinks. Later that night, Mingfei heads to the party with Finger both dressed up, but he's totally shocked when he sees Chen looking like a total baddie. She tells them not to mess up the rented suits since they're probably too broke to afford any damage. Once they make it to the ballroom, they find out something surprising. Chen is actually Caesar's fiancé, and he threw the whole party just to celebrate her birthday. Everyone starts dancing, and when it's time to pair up, Finger grabs Mingfei and pulls him away, saying he might as well dance with him. Instead of doing proper dance, Finger straight away bullies him and forces him into a terrible animal-like dance moves. Seeing that, Chen tells Caesar that he is bullying him too hard and he will lose his mind and run to Lionheart. But Caesar knew that Zhang sent him an invitation and thought he would send an invitation as well. Once the performance ends, Caesar steps forward and makes a bold announcement. He says that in this world, only the strongest have the right to protect everyone else. Then he asks the crowd, when the time comes to step onto the battlefield, who do they want to follow? Right away, the whole room starts cheering Caesar's name loudly. After that, Caesar turns to Mingfei and invites him to come stand beside him. But Mingfei doesn't give a clear answer, he just says he needs more time to think about it. A little later, a new student with blonde hair walks up to Mingfei and offers to dance with her. They pull off a smooth and impressive dance together, and the crowd bursts into cheers for them. Then, the blonde-haired girl quietly leaves the ballroom, and not long after, Chen follows behind her, saying she wants to get some fresh air. A little later, Chen comes back and invites Mingfei to drive her up to the top of a nearby hill. Without asking too many questions, Mingfei agrees, and the two of them hop in a car and drive off together into the night. Meanwhile, back at the college, the entire campus goes into high security alert as 13 unknown intruders manage to break in. It quickly becomes clear that they're after the vase that was brought back from the Dragon King's palace. Everyone rushes to Norma, the college's central system, for answers. Norma tells them that both the gold and silver commissioners are currently overseas, so there's no one strong enough on site to defend the college at full power. With no time to waste, Caesar quickly gathers his team and assigns them to guard important spots around the campus to stop the intruders. The rest of the faculty and students are also called in and given emergency duties to help protect the school. Meanwhile, while driving the car, Mingfei falls asleep again and finds himself with Ming sitting next to him. They both begin to argue about Chen, as one of them says she's their junior and the other says she's their senior. They both admit they have a crush on her and keep going back and forth. Right then, Mingfei suddenly wakes up and sees Chen sitting beside him. On the other hand, they quickly manage to catch 7 of the 13 intruders, but none of them reveal who their leader is. They all claim they never saw their leader's face. With most of the elite students away on missions, the principal and Professor Man decide to ask the Night Watcher, his father, to lift the spirit language seal so they can use their powers and protect the college. Meanwhile, Mingfei and Chen sit beside a quiet pond. Mingfei looks at her and asks if she's okay, since Aki and Sheng were killed in action. Chen answers that only their names were announced so the other students wouldn't get scared. Mingfei then asks if everyone at the college is really this fearless. Chen shakes her head and says that everyone has their own reason for being here, just like she does. She tells him that she's here because she wants to run away from home. Back at the college, Norma tells everyone that the Night Watcher has lowered the barrier. The request finally goes through, but there's a new problem. The enemy can now use their spirit language to hide themselves from others. Caesar then calls Zhang and asks what he's up to, and Zhang calmly replies that he's welcoming some guests. At that moment, Zhang is with Susie inside the library, even though it's a dangerous place to be during a time like this. Meanwhile, 4 intruders make their way into Caesar's place along with their leader, planning to keep him busy. During the encounter, the leader reveals that her name is Mai, and she's the sister of Aki. who died during the last mission to retrieve the vase from the Dragon King's palace. She makes it clear that the mission has nothing to do with her sister, and that they're only here to carry out the job given to them by their employer. Caesar then uses his spirit language, called Scythe, which gives him the power to sense and react to even the tiniest movements all around him. With this ability, he quickly takes down most of the attackers, until it's just him and Mai left to face off. Mai's power is to completely hide her presence and move at super high speeds, allowing her to land sharp and deadly hits like a silent assassin. Her fighting style is the total opposite of Caesar's, and their battle ends in a draw after Caesar manages to block all her attacks, but just barely. At the same time, a blonde-haired girl is sent to go up against Siheng. Seeing that, the professors knows Siheng has one of the purest bloodlines among all the students, second only to Mingfei. His spirit language is a powerful one called Dragon King's Flames, which lets him set everything around him on fire and control the flames as he wants. But it turns out the blonde girl from the enemy's team has the exact same rare ability. Because of that, their battle turns into an even match, with both sides using flames against each other in a fiery and intense clash. Meanwhile, the clown somehow finds his way to the underground chamber where the Norin is located. With help from the Norin's information, he makes it to the secret underground research facility where the vase is being kept. But along the way, he accidentally drops his phone and also ends up opening a locked door. Later on, Mingfei and Chen sit beside the water at the top of the hill, enjoying their peaceful time together. Chen tells him that an S rank isn't really a threat to Caesar, and the only reason he acted that way was because he didn't want anyone else stealing the spotlight. She also admits she felt a bit jealous of the new blonde girl, since in the end, she was the one who got all the attention. Then, Chen looks at him and says she wants him to join the student union so he can be like her little brother, and she'll be there to protect him. Mingfei stays quiet for a moment, thinking it over, and then asks her about Caesar. She explains to him that her marriage with Caesar was nothing more than a political deal, and that in the end, she still makes her own choices and lives her life the way she wants. But Mingfei tells her that back at the dance, she wasn't really trying to save him from the situation. She responds by saying she was actually ready to help him, but Caesar stopped her. He wanted to see how Mingfei would handle the moment on his own and whether he could save himself from all the embarrassment. But she still comes to this spot every now and then, just to see if she can catch a glimpse of the stars. Mingfei feels a deep sadness for her, and in that moment, he decides to use the special keyword she once told him about. Suddenly, the car lights flash on, music starts playing in the background, and fireworks begin to shoot into the sky, exploding into bright flower shapes. Then, between the clouds, a glowing message appears that reads "Happy Birthday, Chen," written in the same special style that only her mother used to use. As soon as she sees it, tears start to fall from her eyes, and Mingfei suddenly understands she's crying because she misses her mother who passed away. That's when Mingfei realizes why she had felt sorry for him when they first met, because he had been crying over the loss of his parents, just like she was grieving for hers. He looks at her gently and, with a soft voice, tells her that from now on, he'll be her younger brother and that he'll join the student union to be by her side. At the same time, the clown guy walks up to a door, takes out his VIP card, and uses it to go into the room to find the vase. When he steps inside, he sees the college principal proudly showing off a real dragon vase that the school recently got. The clown stares at it and instantly thinks that this is the exact item their leader has been searching for. But then, the bald guy standing next to the principal begins to wonder out loud if there could be something alive hidden inside the vase. The principal says he really doesn't know because this vase was forged around 33 AD. After hearing that, everyone in the room starts wondering if the vase is actually safe, but the principal explains that even if there's a dragon inside, it takes a long time for one to be born because of nitrogen. Then, the principal turns to Noma and asks if she got the MRI scan done. When she shows the results, everyone is shocked to see that the vase has 2 cavities inside it. Right away, the bald guy tells his laser machines to grab the vase, but the principal quickly pulls out a knife and presses it against his own tongue. He says that if the dragon wakes up, he will destroy everyone without holding back. After everyone leaves, the clown jumps on the vase and tries to steal it, but he gets creepy flashbacks and pushes back. Earlier, the principal himself came inside the room and deactivates Norma and pours the chemical in the vase, causing it to crack. Meanwhile, Caesar and Mia are locked in a fierce battle. Caesar focuses, trying to hear her movements by the sound of her body. He soon realizes that the final sound is coming from all directions. Just as they're about to clash, a sudden blast shakes the air. May tells Caesar to have his secretary turn the lights on, but Norma doesn't respond. Concerned, they both decide to investigate and follow the strange situation. As they move through the area, they discover large footprints, as if a giant person had passed through. Meanwhile, Mingfei and Chen both get back in the car and start driving down to the college, and Chen finally gets some signals and receives Caesar's message telling her that the college is under attack. Mingfei starts panicking about it, but Chen tells him that the college should be fine because it has experienced centuries of war against the dragons. Moreover, by the time they reach back, the fight will be over. Meanwhile, Ziheng and the blonde girl are locked in a fierce battle, their fire powers clashing like Goku and Vegeta. It seems like the girl has the upper hand, but she isn't trying to kill him, she's only there to stall him. The professors watching from a distance start to suspect that the girl is purposely holding back, knowing exactly what she's doing. On the other hand, the clown, who is just as annoying as the most troublesome guy in everyone's class, rides off on his bike, making his way out of the college. Seeing that, the professor informs everyone to stop him, but out of nowhere, Mingfei's car suddenly slams into him from behind, hitting him hard. He grabs Mingfei and takes him hostage, and as they come face to face, they both suddenly recognize each other. It turns out the clown guy is actually Mingfei's Valorant friend, Tyler, and his real name is Lao Tang. The moment they realize who they are, they drop the tension and start acting all friendly and casual, like old bud is catching up. Then, Lao asks Mingfei for his help and Mingfei agrees to play along, letting himself be taken as a fake hostage. Just then, they hear a loud crash behind them, and out of nowhere, the air starts to feel really hot. When they turn around, they see someone completely covered in flames, slowly walking toward them like some brain-rotted otaku who just stepped out of its room after days. Everyone immediately panics and starts running away from it. The students try to shoot at the person, but the bullets melt in the air before they even get close. Watching this, the professors quickly realize what's going on. The boy isn't normal. He's actually a dragon king that just hatched from the vase, and not just any dragon king. He's the dragon king of fire and bronze. The fire-covered kid keeps walking forward slowly, still calling out for his brother, while Mingfei and the others quickly duck behind a pillar to stay out of sight. After a few moments, they manage to regroup with Caesar, Mai, and Finger. All of them start to get the feeling that the boy is actually looking for Mingfei. To stay safe, they decide to hide inside a pool to lower their body heat and avoid drawing the fire kid's attention. Meanwhile, Caesar and Mai stay outside to fight him for a bit, hoping to gather information on the boy's weaknesses before pulling back. Meanwhile, Ziheng gets a phone call from his Caesar, who quickly fills him in about the Dragon King and how their weapons and ammo aren't doing anything to stop him. After hearing that, Ziheng turns to the blonde girl and asks if all of this was part of her plan from the beginning. But she shakes her head and says she doesn't know anything about it and had no idea this was going to happen. While everything is going crazy around them, Mai suddenly gets a call from her contractor. The baddie on the other end tells her to record a video and send it over right away. Without wasting any time, Mai turns on her camera and films a full vlog, showing the chaos and explaining what's going on. After watching the video, the contractor says something truly terrifying. The boy they're dealing with is actually the Dragon King Constantine. Right now, he's in an unstable state, and if he stays like that for too long, his body will start to fall apart. When that happens, the blast will be so massive that the entire Earth can turn into nothing but dirt. To deal with the situation, Mai suggests that they use the fake bullets they normally use for training at the college, since those don't have any metal in them. Even though the bullets won't actually hurt the kid, if they fire enough of them, they might be able to knock him out. Everyone gets the message and quickly switches to using rubber bullets, opening fire on the kid while Mingfei and the others keep hiding like cowards inside the pool. As they wait underwater, Mingfei suddenly gets a weird feeling that the kid is about to start walking again. However, he quickly tells the others, and all three of them take a deep breath and slip beneath the surface, staying completely still and hidden under the water. Mingfei holds his breath underwater for a long time, trying to stay hidden, but eventually he can't take it anymore and comes up for air, only to realize that he's no longer in the same place. Everything around him looks strange, like a different dimension. He stands there confused for a moment, trying to make sense of it. Then, after thinking it through, he figures it must be one of those weird dreams again where he meets another version of himself. So he starts calling out, hoping the other Mingfei will show up. After a while, he spots a young boy standing in the distance and walks over to him, asking what this place is. The boy turns around, and to Mingfei's shock, it's Constantine. He stares at him for a second and says he feels like they've met before somewhere. Out of nowhere, Constantine starts sniffing him like a total maniac, getting way too close. Just then, Ming shows up and kicks Constantine away, telling him not to steal his brother. Mingfei looks around and figures out that everything happening is just a dream, and the place he's in is the city of bronze. Right then, Ming shows up, kicks him hard, and tells him he should go find someone else to call his brother. Just then, Mingfei wakes up and sees that Constantine is actually there, but Finger and Lao are no longer in the pool. After a while, the principal walks in and tells Mingfei to come with him. He leads him up to a tall tower and hands him a gun along with a special bullet made to kill dragons. The principal explains that he wants Mingfei to use this bullet to take down the dragon and says only Mingfei can do it because he defeated Caesar. and Zhang before. After that, the principal says he'll go ahead and create an opening so Mingfei can take the shot and kill Constantine. At the same time, Constantine is on top of a tower, getting hit by rubber bullets, and when he looks down, he sees Lao and Finger. That's when it becomes clear that Lao was his real target all along, not Mingfei. Constantine starts to lose control of his powers and begins to change into his true dragon form. He looks completely different in his new dragon form, flowing fire all around him. But right then, the principal jumps in and uses his special move, called Time Zero, which slows down everything around him. He cuts open a wound on Constantine to give Mingfei a clear shot to end the fight. Mingfei takes the shot with a little help from Ming's and manages to cancel out the dragon's powers. After that, the principal gives the order for everyone to switch to real bullets and shoot the lizard full of holes. Constantine charges down and stands in front of Lao, taking all the bullets for him and keeps calling him brother until the very end. However, Lao talks like a maniac who lost his mind and runs off into the forest, confused. But as he's running, he starts seeing memories from his past life and finally figures out that he is actually Norton, the Dragon King of Fire and Bronze, and Constantine was really his younger brother. After witnessing his brother's death right before his eyes, Lao heads back to the underwater palace to recover his strength. While he's doing that, he also awakens his dragon. At the same time, the principal is in a serious meeting with the Night Watcher, where he reveals the true reason why dragons can never really be killed. He explains that before dragons die, they create special vases that contain all of their DNA. After some time, the vase hatches, bringing back a new Dragon King. That's why, in order to truly eliminate a Dragon King, they must force the dragon into battle before it has a chance to create the vase, since it takes time for the vase to grow and mature. This is the perfect opportunity to kill Norton. He's just woken up and hasn't fully regained his strength yet, making him vulnerable. Meanwhile, Mingfei wakes up with Finger beside him, who tells him that after the dragon was taken down, a bunch of helicopters landed inside the college. Finger then asks Mingfei which club he's planning to join now, and Mingfei replies that he's going to join the student club. Meanwhile, Caesar and the principal are having a meeting about who should go on the new mission. The principal says that Caesar's students will be the first ones sent, and Caesar agrees with a smile, happy to take on the task. With that decision made, they begin to plan an attack on the palace to take him down. They put together a team for the mission, which includes Caesar, Chen, Mingfei, and Zero from before. At first, Mingfei is totally against it, saying he is too afraid to go there, but the other guy in room says he was personally chosen by the principal, so he has to go. Just then, Zero walks up and asks Mingfei what he's doing here. Mingfei tells her that he agrees to join the student union on his own. He also says that the only reason he came to this school is because of the scholarship. When Caesar hears that, he gets mad and says Mingfei is ruining the school's name by saying stuff like that. After that, Chen shows up and stands by Mingfei's side, getting into an argument with Caesar about the situation. But with some support and encouragement from Chen and the rest of the group, Mingfei finally agrees to take on the mission. He then begins training with everyone else, wanting to make sure he's fully ready for what's ahead. After that, Mingfei starts his training, going all in like he's Tanjiro getting ready to fight Musen. Once the training is done, he boards the airship with the others and they all head toward the Dragon King's palace. When they arrive, Chen and Mingfei are picked to go down with Team B and Tima will carry out the bomb operation. However, Mingfei's job is to explore the area and make sure the Dragon King is really there, since he's supposed to be in a deep sleep because his awakening wasn't fully complete. After that, the bald professor asks Mingfei if there's a chance they might run into the dragon if they go to the Dragon King's house to plant the bomb. Mingfei thinks about it and says the chances are low. Later on, Mingfei and Chen dive into the ocean and swim their way through the water. As they go deeper, they come across a strange and creepy-looking statue hidden inside. They get a message saying that the huge wall up ahead is their first target. Mingfei takes out his chemical cream and heads toward the statue to put it in its mouth. But as he gets close, the statue suddenly bites down and traps his hand. Luckily, Chen jumps in just in time to save him. After that, Mingfei gets really scared and says he's not going back in there again, no matter what. After that, they make it into a room where the air feels a lot cleaner. Mingfei asks Norin if the master is in this place, but Norma tells him that the word master actually means the Dragon King himself, Norton. Just as they begin to run, the statues behind them suddenly start moving. While they're rushing forward, Mingfei turns to Chen and asks why this trip feels so long. Chen explains that the ice sea fragments hold the history of the ancients. She also adds that when they first came in, they were riding canoes wrapped in walrus skins, and during the journey, they saw a bronze statue of a god sitting quietly under the open sky. Finally, they come across a statue of a person with a snake-like face, and Chen tells Mingfei that this is the Dragon King himself. Mingfei gets excited right away and says they should plant the bomb and get out of there as fast as possible. After that, they both dive into the water, but Mingfei gets scared when he sees a grave full of corpses lying below. As they take it all in, the entire city suddenly starts to shift around them, and it turns into a race against time, with traps appearing everywhere as they try to escape. Suddenly, they reach the Dragon King's house and sit down at a table. Mingfei starts to wonder if Chen is copying a scene from the past, where two people once sat here and talked. As she sits there, Chen begins to get memories of the Dragon King and his younger brother, remembering how they were just siblings spending time together. Then Chen tells Mingfei something personal. Back when he solved the map at the library and everyone clapped for him, he thought that she had a problem with his S rank. She then admits that at first, she thought maybe she made a mistake in choosing him and that it might end up hurting him later on. All of a sudden, they spot a lamp nearby, and Chen notices something strange. There's no pipeline under it to bring in oil. That means someone must have added the lamp oil recently. Realizing this, Mingfei starts to panic, knowing it means the Dragon King is here. They both take off running and decide to use the water wheel to reach the ceiling and escape. But when they get there, they see that the water level is dropping because it's leaking out from somewhere else. At the same time, the professor starts losing his mind, like someone is messing up with his head and using it to send out a message. Caesar sees this and tells Finger to hurry because the professor looks like he's about to hit his limit. After a bit, Finger finally gets the answer he needs and turns to Mingfei, asking if he went through the sluice gate. He then tells Mingfei to get to the channel down on the left as fast as they can. After a moment, the passage finally opens, and they go through it. But back on the ship, the temperature starts going up quickly. Caesar takes charge and tells everyone to get away from there fast. But the sea dragon keeps coming after them. The dragon attacks their ship, takes out one of their team members, and completely destroys the passage behind them. But Caesar quickly tells everyone to start the engine and escape from the dragon. Even though they try to get away, the dragon keeps following them and ends up leading them straight toward a huge cliff, where they see Norton standing at the very top. Norton starts chasing the airship to take them down, and Caesar decides fight back instead. Meanwhile, Mingfei and Chen come across an old corpse that's holding a huge book, so they take it and start trying to get out. But soon, the whole place begins to fall apart around them. Mingfei starts to worry and wonders if Finger messed up the calculations, because if there's no new way out waiting for them at the end, then they're not going to make it. They finally make it back to the statue and find the lock, but the key is missing. After that, Mingfei's swimming gear breaks and he starts running out of air, so Chen shares some of the oxygen from her own suit to help him breathe. After that, Chen gives her high-tech suit to Mingfei, and he's surprised by how good it is since it fits him right away without any problem. As he puts it on, he can't help but glance at Chen's curvy figure for a moment before they both start swimming upward together. At the same time, the airship gets attacked by the sea dragon, and one of the engines gets blown up. Just then, Zhang shows up, using his sly ability to get there. He quickly comes up with a plan to distract Norton by fighting him one-on-one. When the time is right, they'll launch a special missile at Norton's real body and try to destroy him for good. Caesar also thinks that if they crash into him with the speed of an airplane, they can destroy him easily. But the nerd warns that the attack has to hit the Dragon King straight on, or it won't work the way they want. Caesar puts on a blindfold and uses his ability to lock onto the Dragon King. He starts firing, but Norton blocks all the bullets. Still, that's exactly what Caesar planned. And right after that, he sets off his special move, revealing Zhang above Norton, who comes down and attacks him with his powerful King Flames. Norton fires back with a similar powerful attack and had already guessed there would be an explosion, which ends up blinding everyone around, except for Caesar. Staying calm, Caesar gives the order to the blonde girl, telling her to get the missile ready and launch when he says so. The missile hits Norton's real body and sends the fusion crashing deep into the ocean, marking their victory at last. Caesar tells Zero that the helicopter took heavy damage, but instead of replying to that, she asks how he's doing. Caesar doesn't speak. He uses sign language to answer her, saying that her voice sounds a little strange. Meanwhile, Mingfei and Chen are still desperately trying to escape. Mingfei gives Chen the oxygen mask so she won't run out of air and die. After a while, they finally find the escape pod and Chen pushes Mingfei inside, locking the door behind him. Mingfei is confused and wonders what she's doing, but before he can react, Norton suddenly appears and stabs her with one of his claws. Seeing this, Mingfei loses control and all the memories of their time together flash before his eyes, pushing him to the brink of insanity. This loss pushes Mingfei into the inner realm, where he meets Mings, who offers to help him defeat the Dragon King and save Chen. Mingfei listens to Ming's words, feeling a spark of hope, but at the same time, he's overwhelmed with anger and self-loathing. He feels like a worthless failure, someone who always relies on others to save him but never has the strength to help anyone in return. But with Ming's guidance, Mingfei finally decides to take action. He uses something that Ming's provides to help him tap into a power within himself. With all that settled, Mings tells Mingfei that he can make a demonic pact with him, in return for granting him 4 wishes allowing him to save Chen and defeat the Dragon King. Mingfei will have to give up control of his life and body if Mings ever feels lonely, along with a portion of his own life force. Despite the heavy cost, Mingfei accepts the terms, desperate for the power he needs. Once the pact is sealed, Mings taps into his power and grants Mingfei a wide range of opus abilities. These include the ability to understand and use various spirit languages, as well as significant stat boosts that will make him stronger and more capable in the battles ahead. Mings also tells Mingfei about the book he's holding and the one he found from the corpse, explaining that it's actually a container for 7 powerful weapons, known as the 7 Deadly Sins. Ironically, these weapons were created by Norton himself long ago to kill humans. With all the pieces falling into place, Mingfei exits the escape pod and rushes to rescue Nano. Thanks to his new abilities, he can now breathe underwater. He heals Nano's wound and destroys the deadly spike that's protruding from her stomach, saving her from certain death. Mingfei places Chen in the escape pod and sends it back up to safety before turning to face Norton, who's ready to devour him like fish food. Mingfei uses Spirit Block to seal Norton's techniques, and then unleashes the power to fight. Mingfei finally comes face to face with his real body, but as he looks at the face, he's struck by a painful realization: it's actually his friend, Tyler Lau. The sight of his friend's face fills Mingfei with sorrow, and he can't bring himself to deliver the final strike. Instead, he stands there, frozen in sadness, as Norton grabs him by the neck. In that moment of desperation, Mingfei grabs a nearby sword and, with a surge of determination, stabs Norton in the back. The sword pierces deeply, and with one final blow, he kills Norton, ending the battle once and for all. Back on the surface, Caesar and the others manage to rescue Chen, giving her first aid and medical treatment to help her recover. Meanwhile, Zero spots Mingfei floating unconscious on the ocean's surface. She quickly dives down to rescue him, pulling him to safety and bringing him aboard the airship, where the group can finally begin to tend to him as well. Later, the principal calls for Mingfei and arranges a meeting with him during their journey back to the college. During their conversation, the principal explains who Norton truly was. He reveals that the Dragon Kings have a process where they create a vase with their DNA to form new bodies for their resurrection. It turns out that Lau was one of Norton's revival bodies. When Lau witnessed his brother's death, his true memories began to resurface, and as a result, he was fully revived as Norton. Mingfei listens to everything the principal says, but a deep sadness still lingers inside him as he thinks about his only online friend, Tyler. He just nods, signaling that he understands, though the weight of it all remains heavy on his heart. The principal tries to reassure him, telling Mingfei not to feel bad about killing Norton, as he saved millions, possibly billions, of lives in the process. He then asks Mingfei to keep all of this a secret, as they still don't know the full details of how Norton actually died. The principal mentions that Caesar's plan was impressive, but it shouldn't have been enough to take Norton down. Oddly, both Chen and Norton seem to have come back to life. After that, the principal hands Mingfei a letter, telling him that it came from an unknown address and is meant specifically for him. Mingfei opens it and is surprised to find that it's from his mother. The letter expresses her sadness about not being there for him all these years, but also her pride in everything he's accomplished. She tells him how much she and his father wish to come visit him when he graduates from college. Mingfei feels a mix of emotions as he reads the letter, a sense of comfort and longing filling him as he realizes his parents still care for him. Mingfei starts crying as the weight of his mother's letter hits him, but after a while, he wipes away his tears and takes his leave. He later returns to the college, where he finds Finger and begins complaining about the news and articles Finger has been posting about him on the college's website. Just as they're in the middle of the conversation, they hear a knock at the door. When they open it, they find Caesar standing there, dressed in femboy outfit, asking for some Diddy oil. Finger hands Caesar some sugar and mentions that Caesar has moved into the dorms, along with Chen and the vice president of the Lion Art Society. Just then, Chen walks in and gives Mingfei a chocolate, telling him they're making more in the room. Finger, excited to try chocolate for the first time, rushes out and starts eating it. Chen then asks Mingfei if he'll join them for dinner, but Mingfei politely declines, saying he has other plans. As he walks back inside, he suddenly receives a piece of mail from someone, his curiosity piqued. Mingfei opens the package and is surprised to find a smartphone inside. He turns it on and sees a message waiting for him. As he opens it, he discovers that it's from Mings, confirming the agreement and contract they made. The message outlines that Mingfei has now taken the prize of a quarter of his life, in exchange for the power-ups granted to him during the fight against Norton and to save Chen. The weight of the decision hits him, knowing that his life has changed, but he also understands the price he had to pay for the power he needed. How long will it take for Mingfei to master his newfound powers and truly live up to his S-rank title? Comment Dragon Slayer if you want a part 2 of Long Zoo. Make sure to subscribe the channel for more content.